Hey Gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I'm Corey.
And I'm Matt. And each week this podcast will serve as a catalyst for discussion on all sorts of topics that grind our gears, rev our engines, or just need a bit more conversation.
And on this week's episode, we have a special guest joining us.
We do.
Very excited. This is actually a contact I made at a rare press event for 2020. Met him at an FCA event that carried over into the Texas Truck Rodeo. I know y'all have heard a lot of the Texas Truck Rodeo from me, but I can't help it. It's the biggest thing Garage Talk has been to thus far. It is none other, joining us today, none other than Joe Rady of Rady's Rides on YouTube, who just this evening, as of the recording of this, hit 407,000 subscribers on YouTube. So congrats to Joe and his wife, Lori, for the hard work that they've been doing. I know it has not been easy growing a subscriber base on YouTube like that, but he's got a pretty awesome job. And so it's going to be really fun just diving in with him and finding out a little bit more of, where his humble beginnings, and what has brought him to 407,000 subscribers on YouTube for doing what you and I just love doing, talking about cars, and for him driving cars and drooling over cars, and it's very fun.
It was a neat episode.
Yeah, neat episode. Can't wait to share it with you. So why don't we go ahead and bring Joe on and just have a little conversation with Joe. Joe, it's great to have you this evening and get to chat cars with you. So as we dive into this week's episode, why don't you just give us a little bit of your history of how you got to 400,000+ subscribers on YouTube and reviewing cars for a living?
Well, it's one of those things where it would be easy to just tell you the short version, but it really does go back to when I was a kid. Growing up in my dad's mechanic shop really gave me a love, an appreciation, and an understanding of cars, not just the way they look and the way they make you feel, but also working on them and taking them apart and getting into all the inner bits. Growing up around my dad's shop, I like working on my own car and my friends' cars, but don't really like working on customers' cars. So that was really never a thing I wanted to do, was take over the mechanic shop side of things. So, I went to college. I got a degree in education to be a teacher. I always felt like I had this desire to want to help people and to be around people. So that was something that growing up in a middle-income family, go to college, get a degree, get a good job. Before I started teaching right away, one thing a lot of people don't know about me is I actually raced cars professionally for about 4 years. Childhood dream of mine. I figured, what, if I'm going to do it, let me do it now. And it was great. I got to travel across the whole United States. I lived in Canada for a while, racing Formula cars and stuff. And then once that came to a close, I started teaching, taught high school for about 17 years, found any way that I could tie my love of cars and my passion for cars into my teaching, because I was a history teacher. So there were many opportunities to kind of blend that together, especially when you're looking at, world wars and the introduction of car companies and the decline of car companies. So, that was something that was really big. And what happened was, for a long time, my wife, Lori, she would tell me I need to start a YouTube channel. When we first met, she wasn't really into cars, but she wanted to learn, and she was always asking me questions. And every time we would go to a car show, she would always notice that if she asked me a question about a car, when I was explaining it to her, people would gather around and kind of put their ear in to hear what I was saying. And she would point it out to me and say, "You see these people listening to you? You should start a YouTube channel talking about cars."
Yeah.
And I was like, who's going to want to listen? Who's going to want to listen to me? My students have a hard enough time staying awake. Who's going to want to watch me on YouTube? So what happened was I have a buddy who I actually used to teach with that left the profession before I did, and got a job working for CarCraft magazine. Unfortunately, CarCraft does not exist anymore. Just recently, they shut that publication down. But what had happened was he lives locally to me in the Tampa-St. Pete area, and he was in charge of some of their social media stuff. And one thing he had his hands on was their Facebook account. And he said, listen, he says, I know you go to Cars and Coffee events all the time. Would you want to do a little walk around off the cuff, talk about a few vehicles that CarCraft readers would be into at the event? So I said, you know what? Sure, let's do it. So we had this little 9-minute segment, me just walking around some cars. Everything was unscripted, talked with some of the owners and whatnot. And what had happened was by the end of the show, there was like 53,000 views on the live video on their Facebook page. And all the comments were like really positive. So before I left that show that particular day, and I remember the day clear as could be, it was October 22nd, 2017. I said to my friend, I said, listen, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. And I even had the name. I was like, I got the name for it. I'm going to call it Rady's Rides.
Yeah.
So that really is the birth of the whole idea.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
And so how did you transition? How long was the transition? What did it look like going from school teacher molding minds to now Matt and I have joked about it on several past episodes, putting out 20 car reviews a day, it seems like.
Well, it's one of those things where in the beginning, I didn't know what to do. I mean, my learning curve was so straight towards the sky that it almost went backwards. I didn't have a Gmail account. So I had to register, get a Gmail account. I didn't even have a YouTube account because I would watch videos on YouTube, but I never was into commenting or liking or disliking. I just watched some videos. So what's interesting is that a lot of my students, I remember when I went into class that Monday after that Cars and Coffee event where I did the live Facebook thing on CarCraft, I announced to them that I wanted to start a YouTube channel. And I thought I was going to get a lot of laughs and maybe be told, oh, Mr. Rady, you're too old, or, because the high school kids, if you're 30, brutal. You're like ancient, you know? So thankfully, a lot of them were so excited and wanted to be part of it. And they got me all set up. For the first 7 months, I used nothing but my iPhone 7.
Okay.
And because I didn't know what I just wanted to, I figured, I'm going to the shows. I really enjoyed being in front of the camera, which was the phone when we did it for CarCraft magazine. So I first tried it with a selfie stick, and that had some mixed results. So then I upgraded. I spent $90 and I bought myself a gimbal for the iPhone 7, and I figured out a way on how to use an AirPod as a Bluetooth microphone. Because one of the things I was getting from a lot of people was, the sound quality.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of people will not put up with.
Yep.
They'll put up with some poor picture quality, but sound quality is like a big no-no. So that's where I figured that out. And for the first 7 months, I got 1 million channel views just off of a $90 investment.
That's awesome.
That's an amazing return on investment right there.
No kidding.
And, I've heard it. You've just mentioned it. I've heard it from a few friends. Start with what you've got. No need to go out and spend a ton of money on crazy equipment. Start with what you've gotten. Your channel is a good testament to that. So if I'm doing math right, 2020 minus 2017, you've been at this about 3 years. And
yeah, just 3 years.
Yep. You've recently hit a big milestone for your channel in what are you now? 406,000?
So we actually just turned 407 tonight.
All right.
Just hit
Congrats.
407,000
Nice.
tonight. Thank you.
So what has it been like as the channel has grown and as you've gotten more notoriety, so to speak?
It's been really a dream come true and a whirlwind altogether. It's one thing I try to point out to people when they bring this topic up and they're always asking me, wow, it happened so fast. One thing that even though it's happened quickly, it has not been easy whatsoever.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to find out, they see that I get access because basically the way that it worked was in 2017, December of 2017, I went and I purchased a vehicle from a local Ford dealership. I bought a Ford Focus RS in December of 2017. I had 900 subscribers at the time, and I actually reviewed my car before I bought it. And one of the managers there, the internet manager, she saw what I was doing, and she was kind of taken aback by how I was doing it, that she actually came up to me after I bought the car and introduced herself. And that's when I asked her, I said, well, listen, I said, if you would like, I could come up and start filming some of your vehicles, some of your new vehicles. Yeah. And she was floored with that. And in January of 2018, the beginning of January 2018 is where I did my first actual new car review where I drove the car. Yeah. Because a lot of my reviews, when I would go to cars and coffee events, they were literally 5 to 8 minute walkarounds. And I would do individual videos. And because I do all my stuff off the cuff and unscripted, I would literally at one cars and coffee event knock out like 12 to 14 cars in 2 hours while I was there.
Wow.
Yeah. And then that would give me my video content for the next couple of weeks where I could do my daily uploads.
Right. That's awesome.
But yeah, going back to your question, it's quite fascinating because, you know, I'm putting the videos up and I spend a lot of time. If you look at the channel, I spend a lot of time in the comment section, reading the comments, responding to comments. For me, it's about, you know, creating a family atmosphere where we're all sharing our car passion, and trying to help one another out and, you know, if there's any questions or anything like that. But it's like one of those things where you don't really fully know until you see people in person. And one of the things I've been really trying to focus on is when I go certain places, trying to have some meet and greets where I could meet the subscribers, the fans, the people who really make it possible for me to do this, meet them in person. And it's just so humbling to hear their stories, share their experiences, you know, and it's interesting because, yeah, you know, you help people out with car purchase. That's really cool. It's special, especially when it's a really special car or their first car or something like that. But I'm getting stories from people where they're like, for example, and this is totally exactly what happened. This guy reached out to me and he said, listen, my father recently passed away. Him and I shared the car passion. He's like, your daily uploads is what helped me get through the grieving process.
Wow.
It gave me something to look forward to. And it was like, wow, I'm doing something even more so than I even ever thought. You know, that's the crazy part of it. But it is interesting when I go places now because, for example, I went over to a cars and coffee event over the weekend with my wife, Lori, that I have never been to in Orlando. And you get people that look at you and some of them want to say something, but they're not sure if you're okay with them coming up. And then you get other people who want to take pictures and just say, hey, thanks. And it's an awesome experience. And I'm very humbled and very grateful for everybody that's on this crazy journey with me for sure.
So I can relate to the other side of that because I remember you and I met at the Texas Truck Rodeo. It was actually the day before at a FCA event, and they put us in small groups, and I saw your name on the list as I was checking in. I was like, and I saw that you were in my group, and I was like, I know who that is. I watch his stuff. That's really cool. I can't believe I'm actually going to meet him in person. And so then we get there, and you and I, the first vehicle we get to see is the awesome Ram TRX. And so we sit through their presentation. They tell us all the things. And you are like the first, I was very grateful for this too. You were the first person to really start pushing and asking questions and let's get in it. Let's pop the hood. Let's do all this stuff. Let's see all the things.
Yeah.
And it was at that moment I was like, well, he knows what he's doing. He's been doing this for a while. And it was just really cool to kind of see the behind the scenes of how you make those videos work and how you do them. And it was even more interesting as I was leaving the event. I had, other schedules and things I had to do, to see you and Lori knock out and go down that entire row of vehicles from FCA and knock out like clockwork. The videos, there was the Challenger was there. You had the Charger wide body. You had the SRT Durango. You had the Wrangler 4xE, the Wrangler 392 concept, the Grand Wagoneer, the Chrysler Pacifica, and the Ram TRX. And I think I snapped a picture of y'all, a behind the scenes shot of y'all working, getting some footage on the 392 concept. But I really was. I was just blown away at how quickly and methodical you were able to get all that stuff worked out. And I'll just say I'm very impressed, and it was really cool to get to see the behind the scenes action of how all that went together.
Well, yeah, and
thank you.
I'm even more impressed because you mentioned earlier that you don't script much of anything ahead of time. It's all, fly by the seat of your pants and jump in and go for it. And that's incredible. To retain the knowledge about the cars long enough to be able to go through and do the videos and keep it accurate and keep them flowing too. I mean, it's start to finish. The video flows very well, and that's incredible. That's awesome.
I'm sure that teaching background really comes in handy when it comes to making these videos.
You're 100% correct. Trust me. There's been some class sizes that I've had where a single class, you got 42 high school students in there, and it's like you can't give them any time to screw around. So it's like teaching over that length of time it really honed the skills to do that. And I think what also I'm able to do is, like, when we go to the auto shows, whether it's Detroit or New York or whichever, it doesn't matter what group of people are around me. That's another thing, is that I can do a review and there could be people walking around. And it's funny because when we were at the New York Auto Show last year, I was inside the Toyota Highlander, which was new for 2020.
Right.
And we were doing the mid-row section. Usually at these media events, as you know, you do professional courtesy. Everybody gets their time with the car. Right. It's not, all for each other and it's a big fight. So we waited our turn. And, my whole thing is that if I'm going to do a review, I would like to show the different sections of the vehicle. I want to show the mid-row. I want to show the cargo area. So we were in the mid-row, and it was funny because I had the door shut, and Lori was on the other side with the door open, obviously filming me. And this media person, she didn't realize, I guess, that I was back there. And she opens the door, and I just kept going. I just said, as you can see, this nice lady here showing us the great opening that we have, really easy to get the door open and close. And she closes it, and I'm like, thank you. And you just keep going. Yeah. And I feel like people really appreciate that, because it's natural. They know I'm not trying to sell it. Yeah, exactly. I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything. I'm just here to share my car passion and the fun with cars,
Yeah.
That's cool.
Who needs improv classes? Just go teach high school students.
No kidding. No kidding.
Oh, they'll get you in shape. I promise you that.
I'm gonna have to go track down that video, see if I can find that clip.
It's actually my number one video.
Is it really?
Believe it or not, the number one video on the channel. And it's funny because I've been on some local news stations over the past year when they find out my story about how does a high school teacher go from a teacher to a YouTuber, and that's the question they always ask is, what's your number one video? And they're expecting me to say Ferrari this or McLaren that, and I'm like, it's a 2020 Toyota Highlander.
Yeah,
I think it's got almost 2 million views on it. It's hilarious.
That's incredible.
Hey, vehicle for the masses. Crossovers are hot right now.
That's it.
I'll take it any way I can get it.
So, digging into it just a little bit more, you have mentioned you've got quite an extensive history and vehicle background. Run us through a little bit of your own personal vehicles. I know you said you bought a Ford Focus RS. What are some notable cars in your history?
Well, definitely, it goes back to being a kid, and obviously on my walls in my room growing up, you had your Lamborghini Countach, you had your Bandit Trans Am from Smokey and the Bandit and all that. So for me, my first car was a 1985 Pontiac Firebird, and I absolutely loved that car. It was a manual, so that meant I was stuck with the carbureted 305, but it was just it was that whole, like, everything you see in movies about a person getting their first car, and that whole just overall feeling and the freedom and everything that goes with it just made it really special. I think another car would actually be my second car. Believe it or not, when I was 17 years old, so I bought the Firebird when I was just about to turn 16, and bought it with my own money. I'm the oldest of 6 kids, so it's not like my parents just had piles of money sitting around for them to buy whatever car I wanted. So had the Firebird, and then when I was 17, believe it or not, I bought a 1985 Corvette, which really was a super special car.
Yep.
It just so happened that the guy who I bought it from, I worked with at a grocery store that I was working at, and his wife was about to divorce him. So one day I came in, he knew I was saving up for a Fox Body Mustang. And one day I came in and he was like, listen, he's like, how much money you got saved up? And I told him, and he's like, you give me your Firebird and the cash, and the Corvette's yours. And I'm like, I couldn't believe it.
Wow. So I think you got the better end of that deal.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yes, definitely.
and it definitely steered you away from Fox Body. I myself am not a Fox Body fan by any means. I'm a Camaro guy through and through. And
are you?
I think I know there are giant fan bases out there that love the Fox Body, but I think that is the worst of the worst.
No.
Well, what's funny is what. Go ahead.
There are worse Mustangs than the Fox Body. I guarantee that.
The Mustang too.
Yeah. But what's funny is that the reason why I was saving up for a Fox Body was, out of my group of close friends, I was the first one to turn 16. And when I had the Firebird, and it was the only car in the group of friends, it was really fast. But then they started turning 16, and they were getting Fox Body Mustangs and doing stuff to them, and they were just beating me left and right. So it was one of those, if you can't beat them, join them kind of thing. Yep. But it wound up turning out in a totally different situation. So
yeah. So how did it turn out when you showed up with the vet?
It was, yeah. They couldn't believe it, and it was funny because even if I did lose, the bottom line was, when we would go down to the beach, driving, back, one of the big things to do back when we were kids was go down to Clearwater Beach and drive the strip. Of course, I'm getting more attention in the Corvette than they were getting in their Fox Body Mustang.
Oh, yeah.
So
nice.
In the end, I was the winner.
That's awesome.
But what's funny is that based off of that, you would think, oh, well, the rest of my car history is all, American V8 or muscle car kind of stuff. I really have always been a fan of World Rally Racing, and especially a big Subaru guy. Mm-hmm. And I did have a couple WRX STIs. I actually still have one now. I have a 2018 WRX STI Type RA.
Oh, wow.
That I was able to track down. But yeah, the Ford Focus RS was a special car as well. But now I think really the thing that just has blown me away is I've been able to get one of my obtainable dream cars, and that's a Shelby GT350R. So that car is super special.
Much better than a Fox Body. I will give you that.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Wow.
I will grant you that one as a Camaro guy. So,
well, guess what? I may be adding another car to the stable. I'm thinking heavily about a ZL1 1LE. So, part of my thing is these cars are not going to be around forever.
Yeah.
Especially anything with a manual transmission. I'm a big manual guy, so it's like we kind of have to enjoy them while we can, because who knows how things are going to turn out,
Yeah. Yeah, the automatics and the dual clutches are just so fast anymore that it's hard to compete with them.
And with everything going electric, who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, we joked about it earlier before we started recording. The Mach-E is hitting reviewers' garages as we speak. So we are seeing the future happen right now. So
yeah, and there's been a big Von Gittin Jr. with the Mach-E 1400 hit this week. The big 30-minute YouTube video on all that. It's incredible what they've been able to do with all that. But it's got a manual in
it. Yeah.
I don't foresee anything even remotely close to that ever hitting the market.
No sequential 6-speed 1,400 horsepower Mach-E's. That's probably not running around anywhere. That's fantastic.
All right, so as we kind of wind this down, we've got a segment that Matt has come up with that we like to close all of our interviews with, and that is a segment called Random Misfire. Matt, would you like to kind of plug it?
Sure,
so to speak?
So it's just a fun little get to know you, either or, this or that kind of a thing. Just 8 questions, because all vehicles should come with 8 cylinders.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Bogey.
There you go.
But and we got a couple of bonus ones that we'll throw in afterwards for our Patreon subscribers also. So if you're a little shout out to our Patreon folks. If you aren't a Patreon subscriber, be sure to go check out our Patreon.
Patreon.com/GT
Get a little
Garage
bonus info, bonus content with Mr. Rady. So I'll start us off. I'll fire us off.
All right.
And I'm coming out blazing too. I know that the 392 concept is no longer a concept with the Wrangler. They're for sure going into production. But would you rather a Jeep Wrangler or a Ford Bronco?
If it's a 392, I'm going with the V8.
Yeah.
As he sits here in his Team Bronco shirt, you've broken his heart.
Sorry.
No, it's understandable. I'm a part of several Bronco pages, and that's the biggest complaint that I hear on the regular. When are they going to put a V8 in it? Come on, the Coyote would have fit. Well,
it does in fact fit, and you just have to talk to the right people and pay the right amount of money.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's right.
All right, so he asked a semi-personal one for him. I'll ask a personal one for me. This is the only one you can get wrong of the whole bunch. So, do you name your vehicles?
Yes.
See, he got it right.
He got it
right. Any notable names you want to throw out there?
I keep it simple. I like just calling Shelby Shelby. It's a name that works for a girl.
Yeah.
Just as much as it worked for Carol Shelby, so that works. And I call my Subaru Subi.
Nice.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So my current car is named after a former Texas Ranger baseball player, Nellie, because it's a Chevy Cruze, so Nellie Cruz.
There you go.
Yeah, I did not get very creative when I had my Camaro. Granted, I wanted a Camaro for so long that 15-year-old me came up with the name, and I just tacked an N on the end, and it was Cameron. So, there's nothing wrong with keeping it simple.
That's right. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. More tech or less tech?
I'm less tech.
All right. Like you said earlier, the manuals are going away. We gotta protect our own. So I'm all about less tech.
Well, and I think that for me, what I try to proclaim and profess on the channel is spec sheets are great, and I think a lot of people buy certain vehicles based off of a spec sheet. But for me, it's all about the feeling. Right. It's all about that engagement behind the wheel.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's all kinds of subjective information, but the objective element of it has to have some weight.
Absolutely.
Definitely in that selection. So.
All right. So you alluded to race cars in your past, but I want to dig a little deeper with this one. On road or off-road? Which is your preference?
I'm a big road course guy. I love left and right turns. I love being a history teacher. I love the history of racetracks. I'm lucky enough to live by the first original sports car racetrack, Sebring. That was the first in 1951. I mean, and to have such a historic race as the 12 Hours of Sebring. Plus, on top of that, we have the 24 Hours Daytona as well. So I got 2 of the 3 crown jewels besides Le Mans in my neck of the woods. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Okay. 2 wheels or 4 wheels?
You know what's funny? If you would have asked me that back in 2014, I would have said 2 wheels.
Okay.
But since 2014, well, here, put it this way. From birth to about 2002, it would have been 4 wheels. Then it went 2 wheels from 2002 to 2014, and now I'm back to 4 wheels.
Okay. All right. So a good mix in there of both.
Yes, Def. I love them. Anything growing up, anything with an engine is what the Rady family is all about.
Cool. Very cool.
It's funny how that kind of goes throughout your life, and maturity, I'm sure, plays a little bit of part in that. And, just being able to recline a little bit and turn the AC on. There's a lot to be said for that. So
it's no fun if you don't have any bug in your teeth when you get back.
For me, it would be the giant sweat stain on my back.
That too.
All right, so getting a little outside direct car influence and into the greater car universe, favorite car movie?
I would say Bullet.
Yeah.
I would say Bullet. I remember my father sitting me down when I was around 7 years old, and he's like, Joseph, you got to watch this part of this movie I'm watching. And I remember leading up to the part of that famous car chase, I wasn't really digging the movie, but boy, oh boy, once Steve McQueen got in that Mustang and it was on with the Charger, look out.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So have you ever driven a Bullet spec Mustang?
The new Bullets, yes. The new Bullets, I've never driven an old school Bullet spec, whether it be a resto mod or something like that, but definitely the newer Bullets, as I say new 2021, they're not making the Bullet anymore, but I've driven quite a few of those.
All right.
Awesome. This one's a little personal to me. Would you rather build a car or buy a car?
I'm going to go, can I go in the middle, or is it really either and or?
You can answer it however you see fit.
Yeah. Okay, because I wouldn't want I don't want a basket case, but I think it's nice to have something where you have some wiggle room, where you don't think you're going to, go in a direction where you just got this new car and now you're going to destroy it by doing something to it. But it's nice to have that ability to personalize and put some of that magic into your car to make your car unique. That's one of the things I love about Subaru WRXs and STIs or Mustangs or Camaros, is that you go to a car show, there's really no two alike.
Yeah.
Because people personalize the heck out of them, and I love that.
Yeah. Well said.
Got a few good ones here, so we'll have to leave something on the chopping room floor for our Patreons. But I will finish out the segment here on the free version with a fun one. So, favorite road trip snack?
Favorite road trip snack is definitely got to be a bag of Doritos and some Mountain Dew to wash it down, but definitely need some cleaning wipes or something, because I don't want to get my beautiful interior all cheesed up.
Yeah.
Well, I was about to say Cool Ranch or Nacho, but I think you answered it right there.
That's right.
All right. Well, we are just incredibly grateful for Joe coming on and spending some time with us. If you want to hear a little bit more from him, be sure to head on over to patreon.com/GT Garage Talk, where you can hear a few extra interview questions and maybe a little bit more tidbits from him. But Joe, before we sign off, why don't you tell the good people, the good listeners, where they can find you? And of course, we will link all this in the show notes for y'all.
Well, thank you for that. The best way is just to go to YouTube and search Rady's Rides. But we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. It's all Rady's Rides, and now, thanks to my wife, we're even on TikTok. So we're branching out into all social media platforms to share the car passion with everybody.
Awesome.
More power to you on that TikTok. I have not pulled the trigger yet, so to speak. I can't do it. I haven't even downloaded the app. So
nope.
Best of luck to you. Congratulations on hitting 407 just tonight.
Yeah.
That's an awesome milestone. We'll be up there with you. I'd say in about 3 years. So
hopefully.
As we get our YouTube side going. But it has been awesome chatting with you this evening, and just look forward to sharing this episode with all of our fans. Well, Matt, I don't know about you, but I had fun with that episode. That was great getting to talk to Joe and
definitely
just picking his brain, not only about what he's driven, but just the whole history of cars in his life. I am jealous of just the location that he's in.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of fun in the car world in his life.
Definitely.
And he is in a great location for catching some great motorsport action, I will say. It's not like us where the closest thing to us is 2 hours away. But
well, it's 2 hours that way or like 37 the other way to go see him. So,
yeah. Potato, right?
Right.
So, yeah, it was absolutely great sitting down and talking to Joe. Just a reminder, you can find him primarily on YouTube at Rady's Rides. Just go search Rady's Rides on YouTube. He's also, like he said, on Facebook and Instagram and brand new on TikTok. So go support all the hard work his wife Lori is putting into making sure they have content on TikTok. I can't do it. I can't do it.
It's weird. I haven't figured it out. I haven't spent any time there. I don't know what it's all about.
As for Garage Talk, we are sticking to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yeah.
And you can find us on all those platforms at GT Garage Talk. Made it very simple.
Yeah.
Same thing all the way across. Or you can head on over to our website, gtgaragetalk.com. You can find out all the latest car news. You can find out what we're driving, what we're drooling over. Anything about us that you would want to know, I would think. We've got our bio pages up there.
And hopefully very soon, more and more content on YouTube.
More and more. That is the plan. So go check us out. And until next time, bye.